How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another episode of Review the Prem, where me and Sim go head-to-head in predicting the Premier League outcomes. 341 to 363 is the score, and the way the scoring works, 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man, once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season, and it's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's see how we both got on this week. Starting off with Friday night football at the Etihad. Man City 1, Wolves 0. Brings Wolves' winning run to an end. Wasn't the greatest game, to be honest. Sim went for 2-1, I went for 3-1. Just wasn't a game of many chances. Wasn't a game to excite the neutral, really.
Yeah, I wasn't watching it, unfortunately. But obviously, De Bruyne scored a nice goal early on, and they kind of just rode out the victory. And it was kind of how I expected the game to go. Wolves were unlucky, weren't they? They had a few moments. Nuri hitting the post, then had a shot cleared off the line, and they'll probably feel a bit unlucky they didn't get a point out of this game. But Man City just getting over the line in the race for that top 5 Champions League, really to put themselves in a very, very strong position now, especially with games against Southampton coming up. You really expect them to get it. But in terms of the interesting thing about this game, De Bruyne obviously scoring, and he's been in fine form recently, De Bruyne. He said he's surprised City didn't offer him a deal, and he still feels like he can play at a really high level. So what do you expect from him in the future? Do we think he's going to move to a Premier League club? Or
It's seeming that way. I mean, there's the links with Aston Villa there, and I think the way he's playing at the moment, I know he's had injury problems all season. We haven't seen him at his best, but definitely the last couple of weeks, even more than that, ever since he started week in, week out, he's been performing at a really high level. So I think he's been their best player over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I think form suggests that he can stay in the Premier League and he can still perform at a really high level. I got a feeling that the chapter with Man City ain't closed just yet.
Really?
I feel like this form might be playing him to maybe a 1-year extension.
Interesting. Be interesting because he's already announced he's leaving. So
yeah.
I guess he wouldn't be the first player to U-turn. And they've already got someone like Gundogan there who's left and come back. So it'll be interesting to see where his future lies.
I've just got a sneaky feeling that once the end of the season comes, Pep will realise how important he's actually been towards the end of this season, grabbing them that top 4. And I feel like he might just offer him a sneaky 1-year extension.
Yeah, and I just think he's a player, like a lot of players his age, just has to be managed at the moment, but he still has a lot to offer.
Next up, it's Aston Villa against Fulham. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 2-1. It did finish 1-0, so I take a point from this one. Yuri Tielemans carrying on his sensational season, goal after 12 minutes. I mean, this guy has just been absolutely brilliant this season. And, he goes and takes Villa, gets them 3 points in a 1-0 victory. I thought it was a well-deserved victory for Aston Villa, and he probably should have scored more goals.
Yeah, and I think really good win in the circumstances, I think, for Aston Villa, because they needed to get their form back on track after the loss last week, and Fulham are a difficult kind of team to play against, especially they've got pretty decent away form, so really good win. Look, it was only 1-0, but it was a pretty good performance, and I think deserved win as well. Fulham kind of continuing their inconsistent form, but do you think it's a step too far for Villa to grab that Champions League spot?
I mean, it's seeming that way at the moment, isn't it? They are only 3 points below Chelsea in 5th, but I'm just looking at Chelsea have really stepped up in recent weeks. Newcastle, I know they didn't win this week, but they're looking strong. Man City are just winning week after week at the moment, so I feel like it might just be.
Yeah, and even though they've had unbelievable late season form, it might just be a little too late. But to be fair, Chelsea still got to play Newcastle and Forest, so there's some real opportunity to gain some headway.
There might be some more twists and turns left. Who do Aston Villa have in their last few games? So they've got to go away to Bournemouth, at home to Tottenham, and away to Manchester United. So 2 of the Europa League potential semi-finalists in their last 3 games. So I wouldn't be surprised if Villa go and win their last 3 games. And if they do that, they do put themselves in a good position, don't they?
If they win their last 3, I think they make it.
So yeah, I do think they beat Tottenham and Man United. It's just a case that they go to Bournemouth and win.
Tough one.
Yeah. Let's move on. Everton against Ipswich. It finished 2-2 on the day. Everton going 2-0 up and Ipswich clawing it back to 2-2 by the end of the game. We both went for convincing Everton wins, and it did look like that at some stage during the game, but a good Ipswich fight back.
Yeah, fair play. Showing what, even though they're going down, they've still got quality in that team. And I guess what a goal from Enciso. Did you see it? Unbelievable. He loves a absolute screamer, doesn't he, Enciso? Haven't seen enough of it this season, but he pulled out of the back in this one. Obviously, Hurst got the equaliser, coming back from 2-0 down, which is impressive considering they're already relegated. So showing that kind of fight at this stage, a lot of teams would have rolled over and just given up, and they didn't. So we'll see what happens kind of with them next season. Will Kieran McKenna be sticking around? A lot of teams we've seen go down, reinvest that money, the parachute payments, and come straight and be right back in that fight. So do you expect that of Ipswich?
Some teams get double relegation as well.
So what direction do you think Ipswich are going?
I think they're a good side. I think if they stick with Kieran McKenna, if he doesn't go to a bigger job, I think they've got a good chance of coming back up. I really do. But, the Championship is a very unforgiving league. It's very hard just to go down and come straight back up. You do see teams do it, but it's not like a regularity, is it? You see Leeds, they had a good season in the Premier League, then got relegated, went down, and they've been down there for 2 years, and now they're back.
Burnley just come back up.
Burnley are one of the examples that have gone up and down and back up again. But look, I think they'll be one of the favourites for the league for sure. It's just a question of if they go and actually do it, because it's a long, grueling season,
especially no Delap probably.
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna have a few players probably that are gonna get taken off them in the summer. So we'll see what happens.
But yeah, draw for Everton. Not great for them to be 2-0 up, but is what it is, I guess.
Next up is Leicester against Southampton. It finished 2-0 to Leicester. Sim went for 2-1 to Leicester. I went for 2-1 to Southampton. And this ain't good news for me, people. This is not good news for the costume bet, the fancy dress bet. The bet was that Southampton will be. Well, I said that they won't beat Derby's record in terms of worst Premier League team of all time. Sim says they will, and this is the one I was really banking on. And they've completely fluffed it. 2-0. A loss to Leicester, man. What are they doing?
Shocking. And Jamie Vardy, probably one of his last goals in a Leicester shirt on the score sheet in this one. And watching the highlights, Leicester seemed to deserve it. They were the better team. Yeah. They seemed to really just pull a performance out the bag. And really, really poor from Southampton. And I don't know if they're going to win in any of their last three, to be honest.
No. They've got Arsenal on the last day. They got Man City next, I think. I'm not sure who their game is in between there, but it ain't looking good for Southampton or me.
No. Who is it? They've got Everton. You never know.
Yeah, they could pull out a draw against
Goodison.
At Goodison, I don't think so. But anyway, let's move on. Arsenal against Bournemouth finished 2-1 to Bournemouth at the Emirates. We both went for 1-1, and it was 1-1 going into last 20 minutes or so.
Yep.
Yeah, Dean Hyson scored. Evan Nilsson scored the winner with 15 minutes to go.
Another game they gave up a lead. Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal just on horrific form at the moment. It's actually mad how bad they are.
1 win in 5.
Yeah, 1 win. I think it's more than that, isn't it? Or was it 2 wins in 8 or something? But it doesn't come without controversy, because that goal at the Evan Nilsson's goal, in my opinion, it does come up off his arm or his hand.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the replays, but I think the general movement on the ball, I think Arsenal fans can be a bit annoyed that there's no clear angle of it definitely touching the arm, but you can just kind of make your own kind of judgment, seeing what direction the ball went and how it bounced. That the conclusion is it probably did touch the arm, but because there was no real angle that definitively showed it, can't really rule it out.
It's true. I do feel for the refs in this situation, but I do think it's ridiculous in this day and age. When you're looking at replays, you can't get a good angle of if it hits his hand or not. Right? There should be hundreds and hundreds of angles where you can see everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there should be. There's enough angles. It's just an awkward one for one reason or another. But one interesting stat that came out of this game was Arsenal from set pieces, because they've been one of the best sides from set pieces this season offensively.
Yeah,
but they're actually one of the worst defensively, which is mad to think about how they're so bad. They've conceded, I think, the least corners or set pieces of any club. Yet they've conceded, like in terms of goals, like one of the most in the league. And apparently, in terms of goals per corner, they concede the most.
Wow. Yeah, I did see that stat, and I think it's mad when you're looking at the players that they have and how strong they are offensively, and tall aerial presences as well. And they're one of the best, if not the best, defensive outfit in the league, or they were at certain stages, definitely last season. But yeah, it's a bit of a perplexing one, but maybe Nicholas Jover ain't as good as people say.
Getting ahead of himself, Jover. But I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, terrible form. They will make the top 5, I should say. Apparently, they could confirm it with the win at Southampton, but
that's last game of the season.
Last game of the season, but and also a bit lucky. Forest kind of dropped points, and Newcastle as well on the weekend. But definitely, if there was a few more games left this season, they would have been a bit worried, probably.
100%. And I think they're lucky that Newcastle are playing Chelsea probably in the next game.
And Chelsea playing Forest as well.
Chelsea playing Forest as well. So a lot of the teams below them are playing each other. So I think they're lucky in that aspect. But I think there's a very good chance that they finish 4th.
Yeah, 100%. And which will be, even though it does not that significant in the grand scheme of things, going second to 4th mentally might be a bit of a hit for them. So very similar to what Poch did, like he was for second, third, then dropped down to 4th with a Champions League run. Then it kind of all collapsed the next season. And they'll obviously be hoping that doesn't happen.
Did someone say come 4th in a 2-horse race?
4th in a 2-horse race. There you go. That's never happened before, has it?
Exactly. And they're pretty lucky as well that the likes of Newcastle and Forest didn't win this weekend as well.
Exactly.
Forest had 2 games in hand,
yeah,
and they drew both of them, or they lost one and drew one. And if they got a couple of wins on the back of it, Arsenal would have been in more trouble, but they'll be all right.
Fair play to Bournemouth. Great win though. Heisen with the header and Evan Nilsson.
Heisen, what performance he put in.
Brilliant again.
Yeah, I just thought they were poor, Arsenal. They took the lead in the first half, and I thought...
And they played an unbelievably strong team. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
They're pretty much their whole 11.
I did not understand that any stretch of the map. That's clear indication that Arteta's worried about top 5.
Yeah, potentially. If there is a possibility they lose their next 2 against Newcastle and Liverpool, they could actually be outside the top 5 come the last game. But it's I think they got something. They got Southampton on the last day, so it doesn't really matter because they're going to win that game.
Because Chelsea are playing Newcastle.
I think you know what? I think Forest had to win yesterday. Actually, yeah, Forest had to win.
So
probably not.
Yeah, look, I think they'll be all right just because the teams below them are dropping a few points here and there. So, look, really poor end to the season, and if they go out to PSG tomorrow night, there's going to be serious questions on Arteta at the moment because I'm hearing from a lot of fans that if Arsenal get off to a dodgy start next season, then there's going to be serious question marks against Arteta, and they might be calling for his head.
Yeah, which is understandable because he's been there for a long time now, and apparently this is their second longest trophy drought.
Yeah, because they did 10 years, didn't they?
Yeah, before under Wenger.
Under Wenger, and now it's about 5 years.
Yeah, it'll be coming up. 5 years, coming up to 6. Interesting.
All right.
No, they don't. The Community Shield doesn't count.
Only Jose Mourinho counts the Community Shield. And to be honest, Arteta did as well. He's like, they asked him, you've only won 1 trophy at Arsenal. He's like, yeah, don't forget the Community Shield, people. Don't forget that charity shield. Anyway, let's move on to Brentford against Manchester United. What a game this was. This was a bit of a throwback to earlier in the season when Brentford were doing this every single week. But it looked like Brentford were just going to storm Man United. And a little bit of a late surge. Garnacho, Diallo back off the bench and back in the goals. And a little bit of a fight back for United, but a little too late, I guess. Yeah,
look, when you're 4-1 down, it's all well and good getting 2 goals back and showing a bit of fight. But at the end of the day, the damage was already done, but they rested all their players. So what do you expect? It was they didn't really, clearly they had other priorities. Great win for Brentford. 3 wins on the bounce now, having a bit of a late season form, beating Forest last week and winning this game and making a late charge for Europe potentially if City win the FA Cup. 8th becomes Europe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they're only a point behind Bournemouth. So they got a pretty decent chance.
Yeah, it's level points with Brighton, better goal difference by, significant amount, and a point behind Bournemouth with, it could become tight in the goal difference as well come the end of the
The
season.
four teams there, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton and Fulham, all four of them are 2 points between them. Very, very
I
tight.
think it'll be massive for any one of those clubs to get Conference League.
Yeah, you think about it, and all of them would be absolutely chuffed with Conference League.
And all of them have a big shout to win it as well.
Yeah, for sure. So fair play to Brentford. Shout out to, first of all, Garnacho with an unbelievable goal, and Diallo coming back from injury.
Yeah.
And is that what a timing that could be with the Europa League coming up?
Exactly. They get Diallo, they get their best player back, and we're getting our whole midfield out. That's just the way things go. But let's move on to Brighton against Newcastle. It finished 1-1 at the Amex. Minte scoring against his old club.
What was
strange
what was that all about?
celebration. I'm not sure what that was all about, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. He said he pointed at the badge, he pointed at the ground, and he said no. He's like, ground, no. Is he saying I didn't want to leave or something? I don't want to be here? Or he's saying you didn't want me? I don't know what he was saying. He was kind of half not celebrating, but half sending a message. I didn't really get it. Did he even play for Newcastle?
Barely. No,
Did he even play a game? So surely it can't be a no celebration when you haven't played a game for them. That's a game's gone moment, surely.
Yeah, look, you say that, but also, he must feel that they had an important part of his development.
Yeah, but come on. It used to be back in the day. It's only a thing if you're like a proper big part of that old club. Never used to be you played one game and you don't celebrate.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's become ridiculous. Now it's like, oh, you ever been to their training ground? You don't celebrate.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, I think you should be celebrating every goal you score, even if it is against your old club.
I agree, but let's say
Unless you're like a club legend.
Let's say Kane moved to the Premier to Liverpool or something. He scored against us. I wouldn't want him to celebrate.
Yeah.
But I think apart from that kind of very rare scenario, I think just celebrate, man. You've got a new club now. You're part of them.
But Isaac gets the 90th minute penalty and snatches a draw for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, look, they'll take the point considering they were losing, but it's not a great point in the circumstances, given that Brighton have been in terrible form. They've been on better form, and they need to win this game in the battle. But look, it keeps them fourth, so no need to panic, but very much in the balance right now.
Yeah, I think it's a poor result for Newcastle because Brighton, look, I know they're chasing Conference League, but they've been very up and down recently, and I was fully expecting Newcastle to go and do the business this weekend.
And they got Chelsea, Arsenal, and Everton last three. Not easy.
Everton away or at home?
Everton at home.
Yes, I'm expecting 7 points there for Newcastle. A win against Arsenal and Everton, and probably a draw against Chelsea. And if they do that,
it depends. I feel like if Arsenal are out the Champions League, they'll probably get something out of it. But if they're in the final, I think they lose that game.
I think Arsenal will be too depressed if they're out of the Champions League.
Maybe they're at home. Maybe they'll want to pick me up. A result against Newcastle could do that.
They'll want it. Or they get it is a different story. But let's go to the London Stadium. West Ham won. Tottenham won. You went for 1-0 to West Ham. I went for 2-2. So I gained a point for this one. Just a drab game of football, really. Two teams with nothing to play for. A complete mid-off here at the London Stadium. And that's how it played out, to be honest. Not many chances at either end. In the first half, there were 2 chances, both goals. Vicario makes a good save in the latter stage of the game to keep it level pegging, and that's pretty much all it was.
Yeah, nothing much to talk about here. Just two teams having poor, terrible times of it. Just kind of both teams found a moment to score, but not much in it. It was a very drab game. Both teams looked very disinterested. Both teams wanted the game to end, it seemed. Both sets of fans as well. I guess Tottenham will take the draw just to stop losing. Probably a better result for Tottenham than West Ham in a weird way. West Ham growing very frustrated with Potter at the moment. At least Tottenham have kind of things on Thursday to look forward to. So, yeah, it's not a priority for them right now.
Chelsea-Liverpool, 3-1 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I went for 1-1. You went for 2-1 to Liverpool. and it's clear that Liverpool are just on the beach now. They've had a few too many celebrating that league title. Obviously, the celebrations were wild last weekend from a Liverpool perspective. So I was expecting Chelsea to take something out of the game, but I wasn't expecting a Chelsea win, and how convincing it was as well.
Yeah, to be fair, Liverpool played a fairly weakened team in this one, didn't they? Maybe they're trying to get some players' appearances up for to get medals and stuff like that. So the likes of Chiesa, Elliott, Quansah, they all started from the start. So off that basis, you can see that they weren't maybe taking this game as seriously as they have before when the title was on the line. And Chelsea took full advantage and deserved the win. And I think the story of this game was Cole Palmer back to his best. I thought it was phenomenal in this game, and one of his best performances of recent weeks, I would say.
Yeah, so credit to Chelsea, because just when you thought they were down and out, they've started producing the goods.
And Palmer looks to be hitting form. So they're hitting form right at the right time, Chelsea.
Absolutely.
Still very hard games to come. So as much as this was a tough game, obviously it's Liverpool, but they got Newcastle, they got Forest, and they've got the Conference League in between, and they've got Man United. So very much like still in the balance when it comes to those top four, because they've got playing two rivals still. So they need to not lose either of them, essentially.
And last but not least, Monday Night Football at Selhurst Park was Crystal Palace 1, Nottingham Forest 1, and we both went for 1-1. So when the 5-pointer comes, they come in doubles. And Nottingham Forest are completely bottling this Champions League football. They really are. I think they're performing really poorly week in, week out. And even the win that they did have against Spurs, I thought they were poor. And Spurs probably should have taken something from the game. I thought Palace were well worth the win in this game. Unfortunate for them that they didn't get over the line and didn't actually score a goal from open play. They had to rely on an Eze penalty, and then a few minutes later Murillo scoring to level it. So yeah, credit to Forest for sticking in there and hanging on to at least a point, but I thought Palace were well worth a win here.
Yeah, and I think just Forest, how they've been playing, this is what I've been saying, they rely very heavily on taking the lead, and they rely very heavily on picking their moments, and those moments don't always go for you. And when you're so reliant on them, you can come unstuck. And I think that's what's happening now. I think their form for a while has been a bit patchy. They did have a little bit of a run of form in March, where they beat City, Ipswich, and United in a row. They won 3 in a row. But apart from that, since like January time, it's been very patchy, and lately it's 1 win in 5, quite a few losses in there. They just heavily relied also on taking the lead. If they don't take the lead, they barely win. But the thing is, when they do take the lead, they pretty much always win. They're very good at protecting their lead, their result. Obviously, to be fair to them, they did go behind in this game and come back in it, but it wasn't enough to win the game. And I think they've done. I don't want to take anything away from Forest this season. They've done brilliantly, and they've done brilliantly to be where they are. But I just think the way they play is maybe catching up with them a bit at this stage of the season.
Nottingham Forest, right? I think this is still going to go down to the wire with Forest, because they're still in a decent position. I know they're lagging behind a little bit, but their next 2 games are Leicester at home and West Ham away. Yeah, I mean, they could get 6 points easily in those 2 fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, they for sure.
And then it'll come down to the last day against Chelsea.
They could still get it. Don't get me wrong. They could still get it, and it wouldn't be that surprising. I'm just saying the reason why their form is like this, in my opinion, is down to how they play a lot of the time, because they don't really. They're not a team that's gonna blow teams away a lot of the time. They just counter attack. They defend well, and maybe in this kind of Premier League where a lot of teams don't defend that well, when you do have a team that is like it does kind of separate them from the rest. But also means in games like yesterday and a lot of games recently where they've ended up falling behind, they don't seem to have an answer for it a lot of the time, and that's what's happening. But fair play to Palace, albeit they haven't won in 5 now. Yeah, which is quite interesting.
Who, Palace?
Yeah, 3 draws in a row.
FA Cup final, so
FA Cup final, and they're also no win in 5, but unbeaten in 3. So whatever way you want to slice it, Eze, he seems to be coming right back into form.
Yeah, it was a penalty this time, but a great performance. Yeah.
But he also hit the bar with an unbelievable effort.
Yeah. So look, credit to them, Palace. It's easy to take your kind of eye off things if you're in an FA Cup final. You've got not much to play for in the league, but they're still performing. They're performing well without really kind of getting the wins on the board, in my opinion. But anyway, star men. Sim went for Mbeumo. I went for Gibbs White. Both played 2 games. Officially, both got nothing. But Mbeumo was very much robbed of an assist this weekend. I don't understand
it. I've watched it so many times. I've slowed it down, watched it in slow-mo. For Sade's second goal, it seems like a very typical assist. And Mbeumo crosses it in, Sade heads it home. FPL have given it to Mbeumo, but the official stats givers have not given it to him for one reason or another. So I'm going to put an appeal in. I'm going to send a complaint to the Premier League.
Take it up with the Premier League, mate.
And this one, it just means the final result of this on the ball is going to rumble on. It's going to go down to the league processes. So
if it goes down to 2 points, yeah.
No, it's going to be this is going to be contested. This result,
the dubious points panel.
Exactly. This whole thing's going to be contested. So don't even think about the result at the end of the season. It's all going to be contested. That's what I'm saying.
Well, at the end of this game week, it's 3-4-9 to Sim, 3-7-2 to me. 3 game weeks left to play, and we'll be back on Wednesday for Predict the Prem, and we'll see you next time, people.